the Snowflake Sports Podcast. It is 7:05 Eastern Standard Time, and I am joined by Albany's finest and the biggest Star Trek fan I know, Conor O'Sullivan. How you doing, Conor?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just quarantining. It's been a while. So during this episode, we're going to talk about Jerry Sloan's passing. That happened last week. NBA looks like it's going to return to Orlando. And we will also be continuing off a podcast 2 weeks ago where we'll be doing round 2 predictions of the NBA playoffs. So, I believe it was the 22nd of May, which I think was a Friday or something. I don't know the exact date, but Jerry Sloan passed away due to Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia at the age of 78. He coached for a total of 26 seasons in the NBA, 23 of them with the Utah Jazz. He's most known for his tough guy, no-nonsense approach with Karl Malone and John Stockton that led their team to the 97 and 98 NBA Finals, where they ultimately lost to the Chicago Bulls. So, Conor, I guess, what do you remember most about Jerry Sloan?
Well, the thing I remember most about him is when I was, I would say, very young and only just starting to learn about basketball. The only little bits I got of it were my dad watching the playoffs on TV, and he was vehemently cheering against the champions and for the underdogs, which meant when the finals came around, he was cheering for Utah, and he was booing the Bulls and Jordan as loud as he could. So I'm pretty sure I did not know who was coaching either team, but I was at least aware of the Utah Jazz. I think those Chicago Bulls and those Utah Jazz were the first NBA teams I was ever aware of, and I was only aware of them, or at least partially aware of them, because of Jerry Sloan's excellent coaching.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So I didn't even know this, too, because I didn't know he coached for 23 years. Like, he kept coaching till, 2011, I believe. And it was just, the tough guy attitude and, in The Last Dance kind of thing, how, tough and physical, Karl Malone was. And, even, John Stockton, how he just would get, down to the defense and his ability. I feel like just that whole tough mentality was what he was known for. And, he was so well-respected just, around the league. You saw a bunch of NBA coaches, I think Don Nelson was coming out and just praising him. And remarkably, he never won NBA Coach of the Year, which I thought was weird. But I mean, I guess he only made really 2 finals. And I guess, what was it? I think late in 2007, they lost to the Spurs in the conference finals. So he never really broke that threshold. He was always in that we're a contender, but they never won it. So I don't know. I just felt like he kind of never got to that Phil Jackson kind of esque or Pop or even Steve Kerr nowadays. But he's definitely well known and well respected.
Yeah, he never got the accolades that those other coaches did, because his legacy basically goes hand in hand with the Utah Jazz that he coached, right? Very good, but never actually won, so they don't really have the W's or the chips to show for all their hard work. He still has an amazing record as coach, though. I was looking it up because I was thinking, wow, this guy was a coach for 23 years. How many games is that? And he's one of only a few coaches play over 2,000 games, and he has something like the 5th best winning percentage of any coach that's coached 1,000 games or more. So pretty impressive resume if you look at the raw numbers.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then so also, I guess because you were talking about your dad and my dad, they also did not like the Bulls, and it was kind of the same underdog kind of thing. Though this was back in the day where basketball players wore short shorts, and my mom was really into Jeff Hornacek, I forget how to say his last name. And he thought she was real cute. So they were big Jazz fans, but me being the contrarian, also just being 8 and just being a bandwagon, always rooting for the Bulls that year. But I mean, I don't know. I always thought that they were the toughest team to face Jordan and stuff. I remember those Jazz teams more than I remember the Sonics or the Suns or any of those other teams that ran into them. So you got to give Jerry Sloan the credit when it's due around that time.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like if this were any other year, this would be like the most important event of the season. But in one season, we've had an unprecedented global pandemic, and Kobe died suddenly and tragically. So,
Yeah. Plus, David Stern also passed. Like, I think people just kind of forget about that too, because it was like 4 months ago or just earlier in the year. It's
oh
just
my
been a
God,
while.
he did. Oh
Yeah,
boy, 2020.
exactly.
What a long year.
2020. Just a giant L to pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
But just like one last thing, it's kind of sad to hear that he's gone from what I've read, like he was kind of suffering from the Parkinson's disease and the Lewy body dementia for a while, so it's kind of just good that he's not suffering anymore, and his family can just kind of reminisce about him and kind of move on. So there is some good to it. All right, now the NBA is looking like it's gonna return to Orlando. There were talks that Las Vegas was in the mix, but it pretty much just sounds like Orlando is the place to be. Um, it was so weird though. So like today, I was reading a Reuters article that like Disney is looking to reopen Disney World on July 11th, which I mean, from what I've been reading, they're looking to like start training camps in the middle of July and then start games like late July, early August. So I'm just like utterly confused with this whole proposition. I don't know what your thoughts on just like Disney World opening and the NBA playing there at the same time.
Oh
Um,
boy. Yeah, I mean, I figured the reason for picking Disney World is because it's already closed and they've got a huge amount of space and land and stadium and facilities that the players could use. So it is kind of weird that Disney World is also going to let people in. My understanding of the proposal is that the league would have their own designated space somewhere on Disney World that the public could not access. So it's not like people, at least from my understanding, are going to be attending these games and that the staff and players are not going to be mingling with the public in any way. I certainly hope not. I also had no idea that Disney World was just going to proper reopen July 11th. That seems kind of early to me. But then again, a lot of this reopening stuff in general seems too early, you know.
yeah. Well, I think also it's just like Florida. Florida seems like way ahead of like the curve of reopening stuff and just being like, I don't care about science. Like, let's just like do this. So it seemed like they would open, but like have restrictions on how many guests would be in the park, and like they would have check everyone's temperature and like make sure everyone wears masks and stuff. So it seems like practical, but it just seems way too early, and it's just like one of those like theme parks, like concerts or like I guess like bars or like places where large congregations of people would be meeting would be like a no, or wouldn't be open until you find like a vaccine or like in late like the winter or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's my thought too. But it really goes to show the kind of the desperation that the league and the owners and the players have to get going because the NBA or any sports league starting up is kind of a microcosm of any state trying to reopen too, right? Like it's not like they're reopening for the heck of it or because they're listening to the people saying we want haircuts, we want the beach. They're doing it because of they're doing it because of money. Like the states need to reopen to get the retail economy going again, and the NBA needs money to function. It's primarily a business. Players need to get paid. The owners need to get their ticket stubs, redeemed, and the league is, has to. What am I trying to say? The league, has like a TV contract every year that it needs to fulfill, and then they like lose a bunch of money if they don't air enough games. So yeah, they really want at least the playoffs to come back this year, so the rest of the season isn't a wash.
yeah, definitely. I love that you brought up the TV contract because that's really why they're doing this because I think they would owe if they just cancel, they still owe that money to like which is weird, just Disney because they own ABC and ESPN, so they would owe that to them, and they would owe that to Turner Broadcasting for like the other side. So they need that money to not only like satisfy the top dogs who are making like 30 million a year or so, but they need to like the middle class, like the lower rungs of like the NBA society, and just also just like the staff too, like the coaching staff, medical staff, all those other people on there. I thought it was just kind of funny because it was like New York and California, which I felt like they're always like the more progressive states, more towards like health and just protecting. It was just like a couple weeks ago, they're like, okay, like if other states are reopening for like practice facilities, we're gonna do that too. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that really when you think about it, because it's only like letting, at least I guess because we're Raptors fans and I follow the Toronto stuff more. It's like you just let like one person in the facility and like at a time, and you have a set, and you can't like go to the actual like benching gym. It's just kind of like a shoot around thing. And you have like it's only like one other person with you, I think. So it's like they're taking a lot of reasonable steps into bringing it back. Um, but I don't know. It's just I don't know why you would bring people there. Like why? Like are they just gonna have one resort where it's like, okay, this is the NBA and this is where people can be? It just seems like they're gonna mix at some point, and the whole point was it so that they wouldn't mix. So it just seems conflicting.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. Like I can't really think of an ideal location to have any of these games. Disney World is definitely better than Las Vegas, but I mean, where else are they going to play? Like on a abandoned oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, on the moon somewhere?
Yeah, just play in like Qatar in like the desert or something.
Oh yeah,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, yeah. It really Disney World's really the only place that they could be. I feel like Vegas could work if they were like in a hotel that was right next to T-Mobile Arena, but I feel like they still have to. That's like not the only court they would use. They would use the UNLV gym wherever that is, and like I think there's like another decently sized gym in there. Um, I don't know. It's just like so if there's no fans, I was just thinking, what if you just went to like some small town that had like a bunch of schools that were closed, and you could just like go in those gyms, but then like they have to house all these people, and it's like thousands of people, so you can't just go into like Fargo, North Dakota, or even if that's in like South Dakota, I don't even remember. They can't really do that, so there's really no good situation in this.
Yeah,
And
it
I
seems
think
like they're picking the best of several bad options.
right, I agree. And I think I read on the Athletic, I forgot who wrote it, but like Disney might use this as like a marketing technique so that they could be like, okay, if it's and it like works and you have like these pictures and these videos of LeBron James, he's riding Space Mountain. And it's like, okay, like if it's good for the NBA, it could be good for you. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they would use it. They would get more money because they're having the games there, like free marketing, because it'll be like Disney uh, Wide World Sports or whatever their uh, title is, and then they would also just have all these commercials and just like almost this free marketing campaign. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any other comments on Orlando?
Oh well,
As
I wanted to ask you, like what kind of like stuff should they do when they actually reopen, start playing the games? You know, because from what I'm reading, they still haven't finalized anything. Like, do they play the remaining 20-ish or so games? Do they only play 10 games of the regular season? Do they go right into the playoffs? What does the playoff format look like? You know?
Yeah. So personally, I would like to see some form of games. I don't even know if you have to really do 10. I would say more like just 2 weeks of just like playing each other. Um, and it's interesting to see. So like Damian Lillard kind of came out of this and it was just like, if you're not gonna do so like the NHL, they're coming up with this like weird like I think they're just gonna go into the playoffs, but like instead of having 8 teams from each conference, they're gonna do like a 5 through 12 seeding, and then like the teams that win that bracket, they're like then it's the next 8, and then they go in to like the normal like seeding and normal playoffs that we typically see. So like I don't think they're gonna do that, but
The
like
NHL loves crazy playoff seeding. Sorry, continue.
yeah they do. And it's just like so like Damian Lillard and the Blazers, who I think are 10th or 11th, and they're like 3.5 back of the 8th seed, like probably couldn't close that gap if they played like 2 weeks or even like a month. Like, what's the point of them playing? Or like any of these teams that have no shot? So it's like, why don't you just return and like have the teams in contention play each other? But I don't know where's like the threshold. Because Because if like Damian Lillard wants to sit out, like shouldn't his whole team sit out? Like I don't know. But yeah, I would like 2 weeks of regular season play and then start the season or start the playoffs. If they could reduce the first round to 5 games, I would enjoy that, and then just kind of play it out. I don't care that it interferes with the NFL season. I think you just gotta just make do what it is. The NFL, they only play on Sunday, Thursday, and Monday, and not a lot of people like the Monday ESPN broadcasting crew. So it's just like, okay, like just don't play games on Sunday. Like there's your solution.
Yeah, it should be easier than ever to schedule games now since everyone plays in the same spot. So.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you want? What's your plan if you're Kanish?
Well, I'm on the same opinion as you. It sucks because you lose revenue, and I especially feel bad for like the players who don't make a lot of money in the first place and are going to miss out on a payday. But to play a bunch of regular season games that don't matter because it's the home stretch and a bunch of teams have been all but mathematically eliminated doesn't make any sense to me. I do kind of like the idea of like a cute little play-in one-off tournament or something. Like, I don't know. I know you just said Damian Lillard doesn't want to play or anything, but what if like, Portland and New Orleans were in the 10th seed, did like a quick little tourney with Dallas and Memphis or something to see who actually gets the 7th and 8th spot. That could be fun. That's
definitely.
new.
Yeah.
If anything, this jump starting the season like this really allows you to get crazy with it. I know they will never ever do this, but if I'm commissioner, I'm going to try to throw as much weird stuff in here as possible. Since the season's just it's crazy enough as is. I'm thinking like since there's no more travel anymore, let's finally cave in to all the people complaining about this. Let's just reseed everyone 1 to 16. Let's go. Let's get rid of East West. There's no East or West anymore. You all play in the same town now.
Right. Oh, I really like that because they're not traveling. That's always the complaint. Like, what if Portland plays New York or something and they have to travel across country? If you're all in the same location, like, just let it be.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that a lot.
And I don't know what kind of stuff that would look like. I mean, I assume you get some real duds in the first round, but again, if you shorten the first round to 5 games, like your idea, I think it'd be okay. I'm looking right now. Like the 1 seed would be Milwaukee Bucks versus it would still be Milwaukee versus
Orlando.
Okay, so
right?
that's a bust there. Let's see. This is exciting podcast material. Me going and then looking at the standings. Whatever. It might be fun. I don't care about East or West rivalries or whatever. I'm not one of those guys. So.
Yeah. So I think I saw someone do this where they did the whole league, and I think Toronto would be 3rd. Yeah. Yeah. So they'd be 3rd. They played Memphis, which I think that would be fun.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play our old buddy JV.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad that like DeLon Wright isn't still on that team. But yeah. So what was it? Brooklyn would play the Lakers, so that's a mix. Oh, I guess the Sixers would play the Celtics. No, that's still. And then the Nuggets play the Pacers, so that could be interesting. Yeah, I guess a lot of these would still. Oh, and then Miami would play OKC, which would be different. But a lot of these, like Utah would play Houston, which is still West. Like Boston would play Philadelphia, which is still East. So it's just like a lot of this doesn't change. But I kind of just. It's the best teams playing each other, and like you'll see, like the finals would most likely be Lakers Clippers. I would assume if you did it like that. So it's like. Instead of all these, when the Rockets played the Warriors and they played that 7-game series 2 years ago, like instead of that being the conference finals, just have that as the finals. So I'm all for it. Let's reseed. Let's get weird. So the Ringer, they had an article where the NBA, I guess the NBA league office is supposedly looking into doing like a World Cup style for the first round.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they'd do 4 groups of 5 teams, I think. So they would you'd have 20 total teams instead of 16. So you'd add 4, and then you would play each other home and away. So you'd have 8 games, and the top 2 teams in each group would move to like the second round, and then you'd play out the 7-game kind of series. So I kind of dug that too, because it makes it easier to make the playoffs, but then it's like this round robin, like, oh, who has points here, like it's kind of new. It's just like fun. I don't know if you'd like that too.
I like the World Cup. Like the World Cup format. There's like a novelty to it because I only ever follow soccer for the World Cup. That's the only time I ever see that kind of format used in a competitive setting. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And
Like a shout out.
I was gonna say also let's do the Elam ending as well. Screw it, it's good to go. All-Star game worked flawlessly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah.
Make it weird. Make it weird as possible. I guess there's World Cup too. This is totally tangent, but like Canada, Alphonso Davies, he's a guy. I think he plays for Bayern now too. So watch out Canada. Or I guess watch out USA. But
yeah, watch out USA. We're coming for you again. It's gonna be 18-12 all over again, baby.
All right, now moving to the second round of the NBA playoff predictions.
I just had one more small thing. Since Disney also owns ESPN, I would like all playoff games to be commented by Mike Breen again, but replace Van Gundy and Jackson with Mickey Mouse and Goofy.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Make it a little. Get some little voice actors in there or something.
Yeah, I just love to hear their take on the sport. No offense to those other guys.
Yeah. Well, it kind of beats Jeff Van Gundy talking about like, oh, like I had like dinner at this place in like Boca Raton or whatever. Like, would it really be that different?
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't have had any dinners at this point because of quarantine. But so he'd be talking about whatever he cooked that night. Ugh. Yeah, get him out of here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that'd be like very detailed too. He'd talk about like the cheese and like the the risotto and all the I don't know food, to be quite honest.
Don't know what risotto is. Don't care.
Yeah. All right. NBA round 2 predictions. So we're going off of what I predicted 2 weeks ago. So I had Milwaukee playing Miami, Toronto playing Boston in the Eastern Conference, and then in the Western Conference, I had the Lakers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then the Clippers playing Houston. So it's pretty chalk in the Eastern Conference, and then a little difference because OKC was the 6th seed, or no, Houston was the 6th seed, OKC was the 5th seed, and I always forget that NBA playoffs do not reseed, so Houston wouldn't be playing the Lakers, Houston will play the Clippers. Anyways, so the first one, you got the Bucks versus the Heat. Connor, who do you have winning this series?
The first comment is I like the disrespect having Miami advance over Philadelphia, although I guess it's not disrespect since Miami would have had home court in that. This is an interesting matchup to me because I feel like in the previous round Miami was a bad matchup for Philadelphia, but Philadelphia would have been a very bad matchup for Milwaukee just because of how their roster is constructed. But I don't know. Here, I can't see the Heat honestly doing that much against the Milwaukee Bucks system. My yardstick measure for can you beat the Bucks in 7 is can you? And we talked about this a little on the last podcast when we did the Raptors retrospective playoff run. Is do you have a lot of fast guys on defense who can chase out corner 3 shooters? And then also, do you have at least one guy who can kind of slow down and sort of bother Giannis? I think the Heat have the former. I don't think the latter, unfortunately.
Gotcha. So I get counter. This is going to be my weird, just like off-brand. I think Miami actually wins the series.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll give them 7 just because the Bucks are like they lead the league in point differential at like 12 points a game or something, so they're still kind of ridiculous. But so okay, like Bam Adebayo is super athletic, he's big. I feel like he can guard Giannis, at least to some extent. And then like if he can't do it, like I think Jimmy Butler can somewhat slow him down. And you have like fast young guys like all around this team. You have Kendrick Nunn, you have Tyler Hero, you have like this Duncan Robinson guy. Like I feel like they could chase shooters. And Spoelstra is a great coach. I wasn't very high with him with LeBron, but like, retrospectively, like looking at how good these Heat teams have been with like B-star players, they make playoffs every year. They're like relevant at least to some extent. And so like yourself, Giannis, and you pretty much have the series. I just love Jimmy Butler. I don't know what it is. I just feel like what he did in that series, like when we talked about it a while back, just when he was a Sixer and how like he commanded that team. Like I feel like he could just do that again with this Heat team and just like and then dish it out to Hero for three or Kendrick Nunn. So like I just like their team and they play great defense. They play like unbelievable defense. So like you saw Giannis, you saw this team. Like I'm still not like high on Chris Middleton. Like if Eric Bledsoe goes away like he did last year, like I see this team, but like I think you're right though. Like I think the Sixers would give them more actual like grief, just the way that like Ben Simmons can kind of track Giannis down. I just like the Sixers. I feel like have no shooting still, and like Brett Brown I think is a good coach, but I just don't. I think like Spoelstra is like a one of I want to say one in a generation, but just like a tier below that kind of play. So I'm picking them 7. I think Jimmy Butler goes off and they play great defense.
Wow. Okay. Well, your explanation has swayed me a little more. I absolutely can see Jimmy Butler alpha dogging Giannis and the Bucks and becoming the best player in this series through sheer force of will. And you are right about Eric Bledsoe disappearing. He's gonna at some point. I was thinking maybe more in like the conference finals, but he could totally do it here too. It's just not enough for me. It's just not enough for me to say Heat in 7, but this is your podcast, so I see the forward to you. I would say Bucks in 6, given the quality of this Heat roster this year.
Yeah, I mean, like the Bucks will probably win. I just want to give the case of Miami, and I've loved it. Like whenever I watch this team, like even when they played Toronto, the game was like 85-82. Or something. Like Toronto's a great defensive team and they held them to their own, but like Miami they just have it's pretty much the same thing as Toronto. They have so many people that you can throw at anyone. Like Bam Adebayo can guard anyone, Jimmy Butler can guard anyone. Those younger guys like Hero and Nunn probably can't, but like they're at least fast enough. Like you got Justice Winslow too. So it's just like I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. But yeah, all right, moving to the north. Moving to the north. The Toronto Raptors versus the Boston Celtics. All right, who do you got?
Well, it's hard not to be a little biased since Toronto is they're the reigning champions and also my favorite team. One thing I want to say first off is has Toronto played Boston in the playoffs yet since like the start of the Masai era? No, right? Like these teams have never met despite having a quote unquote pretty fierce rivalry for like who wins the Atlantic the past 3 or 4 years. Not that divisions, matter and like or anything, but I feel like these two teams always play each other tough. I feel like in the regular season they're pretty close to even. For me, I got to go with Toronto. You know why? Because they've been there before. They got that champion team winning mindset. And these young guns in Boston don't know what they're dealing with. So that is my prediction. And how many games? Yeah. They play good at home, so I'll give them some respect and say Toronto in 6 games.
Woo! All right, I got the same thing. I'm just gonna piggyback off you though. So they've been there before. They've won all the games. They've also lost all these games, so they know, or at least like the Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam's kind of been there. They just have so much knowledge, and like even like their new guys like Terrence Davis and like Malcolm Boucher has been playing a lot since Ibaka and Marc Gasol have been out. So it's just like this like whole next guy up kind of almost like a Golden State Warrior thing is like, or I guess it's just bench mob. We're just bringing the bench mob back. They're just there, and like Nick Nurse is just. I just love how everyone kept like shitting on Nick Nurse for doing like the box and one thing when it was just like Steph Curry, but like it worked. So like I think there's times this year where he does like a full court press and it's like the NBA players don't know how to react to it, which is just like weird. And then you see teams like. I forgot who did this. Other teams are like playing more zone, like randomly, just to throw people off. And it's just like Nick Nurse did that. Like he'll do whatever to win. And not to like Brad Stevens is a good coach too. They're like Jason Tatum is like emerging as like a top 20 player. He's just not really there yet. Or maybe he is top 20, but not like top 15 or top 10. And then like just like the supporting cast too, like Jaylen Brown isn't really there yet. Gordon Hayward, like who knows what he's gonna do. Kemba Walker, you haven't really seen him in a legitimate playoff series. Like I know he did great at UConn, but that was college, like way back when. So like these are the playoffs. Yeah, and this is a Toronto Raptors friendly podcast, so of course I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. Another advantage in Toronto's pocket is their center Enes Kanter can't play games in Toronto for fear of extradition to Turkey. So he'd be out for 4 of those games. Yeah.
And yeah, they don't really have a center really after him either. So as long as Gasol and Ibaka are healthy, I think they just.
Also, I just think Gasol and Dora Ibaka would eat that guy's lunch. No offense to Enes Kanter.
Yeah.
He seems like a funny guy. He's a good Instagram follow, but yeah. This also has one of the most exciting seeming head-to-head matchups I think of this round, which is is Nurse going to put Siakam on Tatum, the current one of the candidates for most improved player this season versus last year's most improved player? Could be. Could be. Yeah, I would like to see. I'd like to see. If Jason Tatum's the real deal, let's see if he can get by. Let's even get by Pascal. That'd be the thing to watch.
That's probably the matchup the most you'd want to watch. I also kind of like to see the point guards kind of situation too, because it's like Kyle Lowry. He's getting up there in age, but playing against like a Kemba Walker, where they kind of, I wouldn't say they're both pass first. Like I would say Kyle Lowry's almost more pass first, at least nowadays. Like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, he was trying to generate his own shot, and he still does that. He's not like a Chris Paul or like a John Stockton back in the day. It's just like he isn't like a Derrick Rose, I guess. Just like see who wins that matchup. Like see if Kemba can go off and drain a bunch of threes. If you can get by Kyle, if Kyle's like doing a bunch of charges or not. But yeah, definitely the Siakam Tatum matchup. I want to see. Also, I'm a little nervous though with the Raptors, like Siakam on the offensive side when it's like in crunch time, and you know how like everything just gets into isolation and it's just kind of annoying. Like is Siakam gonna be able to drive on someone, generate his own shot, or is he gonna kind of fade away as he did some games last year? So that'll be something to see.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he handles the playoff, the load of a number one option in the playoffs versus in the regular season. Because I think he's mostly done it okay, but playoffs are a different animal, right? We shall see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think absolutely he can handle it on the defensive end. I think he could do some havoc on Tatum. It's more of the offensive end that is the issue. All right, moving to the Western Conference, we have the Los Angeles Lakers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, Connor, who do you got here?
Well, I want to say that Oklahoma City Thunder have been one of the nice little success stories of the regular season up till this point. I don't think I expected them to be this good at all. All 3 of their main guys from that team that made it to the finals and all went on to win MVPs are off the team now. They get an aging Chris Paul, and then they proceed to play pretty darn good, actually. So they are a nice surprise. And when it comes to the playoffs, I feel like Chris Paul gets a little more disrespect than he really deserves. I know he's had like a couple of bad moments where he's like played bad and cost the team like a game or a series, but like on the whole, he brings his A game, when the playoffs matter. I'm specifically thinking about that incredibly good round 1 between the LA Clippers and the San Antonio Spurs a few years ago. So I feel like Chris Paul alone could carry OKC to at least one game. And that's not even factoring in the rest of the roster. So, I still favor the Lakers in this series, but I think OKC is one to look out for, and I think this is Lakers 4-2.
4-2. Oh, okay. So you got them winning 2 games. Gotcha. I mean, OKC has definitely been like a fun team to watch, and they have like the. I think I said this like 2 weeks ago when we did the fish. When they throw out like Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and GA, and they do this like pick and roll action, where they just like they do like 5 pick and rolls in one sequence. It's just very hard to follow. And that's what's creating like this Chris Paul like at the elbow, and he kind of trains like a 2, which isn't really seen anymore. And like Steven Adams is just a monster in the rebounds. But like this team was not really supposed to go anywhere. Like when they traded Paul George and Russell Westbrook to get like 10 first-round picks, they like everyone thought they were almost tanking. And like Chris Paul was like, nah, I'm still on this team. I just kind of love what Chris Paul did too. Like I feel like a veteran, like aging veteran, that title, he might have been like, you guys gotta trade me. Like I gotta play on a competing team. But he's kind of like, nah, I'll mentor Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like we'll build like a contending team. And this is like a surprise. No, I don't think anyone had them making the playoffs. But they're going against the Lakers. They're going against LeBron, like a rested LeBron. Like not even with this quarantine, he's had like 2 months off. It's even like last year when he didn't play in the playoffs. He didn't play like the 2 months there. Like he's had the most rest this year that he's ever had. And he's undoubtedly at least the second best player to ever play. So I just think they just get it done in 5. I don't see like who guards LeBron in Oklahoma City. Like they don't really have a wing that really like they don't have Paul George anymore. So like do we still have Nerlens Knowles? So I don't even know. And then like Anthony Davis, there's just another. You have Gallinari guard. God, that just seems off. But either way, good year by OKC, and Lakers are just destined to at least make the Western Conference Finals.
Agreed. And shout out to Sam Presti for continuously building good teams year after year. Pretty good GM they got over there.
Yeah, definitely. Except just the one blemish is trading away James Harden.
No. Yeah. Just the one little black spot on his resume.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, so like beside too, right? I guess he isn't the GM, but he's like just considered such a great executive for trading for Kawhi. Like, let's just say that 4-bounce shot doesn't go in, and they're another second round exit. Like, is he regarded that highly? Absolutely not. Like,
definitely not.
It's almost like luck at this point.
Yeah, like drafting 3 future MVPs, but then only making the finals once. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so
Speaking of having to like trade like a really good player on your team for salary cap restrictions, thanks to the Last Dance, I now know that Scottie Pippen was paid 1/10 of Jordan's salary on that team. So good luck doing that in the modern NBA.
Though, okay, so the reason of that though was because he signed like a 7-year contract, like way too early. So like. If you look at the numbers, Jordan was making like $4 million a year until '96. The last 2 years, he got $30 million each year. So like, if Pippen just didn't do a 7-year deal and did more like a 5-year deal, he could have been making more money. And then like also, Pippen kept playing in the NBA. Like he played for the Rockets, he played for the Blazers. He ended up making more money in the NBA than Jordan did, just because he played more. But like he got his money. Like people are trying to do this like sob story for Pippen, and it's just like no.
Yeah, he got paid.
Yeah,
he got paid. But it is funny to think of contracts lasting that long now. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, it's so absurd. But I think like even like Shaq signed like a 7-year deal, so it's just like, and now everyone's doing like Kawhi's on a 3-year deal where it's really like a 2-year deal. Like LeBron always had these one and one deals. It's just mind-boggling that the NBA was so different like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Only 2 years total on that Kawhi deal. Clock's ticking, Clippers, tick-tock.
Yeah, gotta make it work. Speaking about Kawhi and the Clippers, they would be facing the Rockets in this scenario. So who do you got here?
Oh, yeah. For this, this is a sweep. Get the brooms out for this. Clippers are going to eat Houston's lunch. I was trying to think like how does Houston win a game here, and Houston has been like one of the most interesting to watch teams this year. They traded away their starting center, and now nominally Russ is sort of at center, but not really. And they play this crazy fast-paced lineup, and Russ is looking better than ever. But I'm sorry, man. Like I just feel like the Clippers are too good a team for their regular season Houston shenanigans to work here. Every season, like Houston's game plan just doesn't work as well because teams tighten up and they allow fewer threes and fewer points in the paint. And I think we're just going to see that again. We're going to see James Harden, unfortunately, shy away in the playoffs again. And former Rocket, Pat Beverly, is just going to get like right in his jersey and totally shut him down. So I don't see Houston winning anything at all. Sweep.
Gotcha. Okay, so I thought this would be much closer. I had the Clippers in 7.
Wow.
Just because I like the unleashed Russell Westbrook and like just surrounding him with shooters so he could just like hack the paint. But not coming to think of it, that's probably not going to happen just because like the Clippers have so many good defenders that they could just limit the Rockets, and they also have Zubac, who's a pretty good center, and like the Rockets will have no one to guard him except for like. I forget who they signed, but they signed some like, Jeff Green. Like it's Jeff Green.
No, that's the kiss of death. That's Jeff Green kiss of death right there. No, not good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably not 7. I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna stick to it.
I mean, just pick any of their guys, and like you haven't even mentioned like who Paul George is guarding on this team. Like the Clippers just have a huge depth of options to throw at all of like Houston's players.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as we've seen before, we've seen playoff Kawhi, and he could do anything offensively. It would just be interesting to see, because it still seems like they're trying to figure it out. So, like, post-quarantine, after they haven't played for a while, are they going to be meshing well? Like, it almost seems like, okay, it's Kawhi's turn. Oh, it's Paul George's turn. Is that going to get worse? Is it going to get better? So, like, we don't know how that works. Like, I feel like Houston kind of knows who they are. And then with the coaching, you could almost throw that in the crapshoot because D'Antoni and Rivers are both amazing coaches. But I don't know. I just kind of I think so. Like right when Houston always loses, they lose to like the Warriors or they lose to like one of the best teams, and you could say the Clippers are one of the best teams, but I don't think they're like Warriors-esque. So I feel like they would give them much more trouble. And especially with James Harden, I think he can, like, even though it locks up, like, the defenses, I still feel like he could find a shot, whether it's, like, he's pulling back for 3, if he's driving to the hoop, like, they just do this, like, isolation kind of style, so that, like, I feel like an isolation style, you're going to be locked in at defense anyways, so it's just, I don't know, I'm just kind of higher on them than most. So... all right, you got any more with the series or?
No, I mean that's pretty much all I got. Maybe I am being a little too hard on Houston. I mean, it's not their fault that if you look at like statistics and their numbers, their 3-point percentage just goes down the crapper. Like not all of that is them just being guarded closer. Like their open 3-pointers just stop going in. That's just kind of luck. Maybe the 3-pointers break their way finally this time.
Yeah, maybe the tides will turn. All right, so I think we got a little more time. And since this is the Snowflake Sports Podcast, I am going to bring up some tragic news that's been happening lately. So there's a lot of, so in Minneapolis, I forget his name. I should remember his name, but he passed away because a police officer was kneeling on him for, I think, at least 8 minutes or something completely ridiculous. And there's videos all over Twitter and all over social media how he's like, I can't breathe, and this is just Eric Garner like all over again. And then not only that, like people are almost forgetting about the Central Park. There was a lady that called a guy that was like just walking around, was like, excuse me, can you leash your dog? And she like called the cops on him. So it's just like it's like, is this never gonna stop? Like, are we always gonna have just like white people like thinking like bad things about like black people and always having to call the cops or having someone kind of pass away. It's just kind of tragic. And as a fellow progressive counter, I don't know, it probably grinds your gears as well. So.
Yeah, there's since I mean I forget when Eric Garner was killed and we started seeing every few months a new police killing recorded on somebody's smartphone, but it's just a very sad, never-ending cycle of police kill someone. Yeah, and then the same predictable thing happens. None of them ever get in trouble. There's some kind of protest that people of color or the family organize or something. It doesn't get covered. Usually the person who is shot, in this case it's George Floyd, they go through and it says, ooh, this guy got a speeding ticket in 2001 for going 5 over in a 55 zone or something. And then Cable goes, oh, he was no angel. I don't think that's happened here actually, but it's always gross and disgusting, and it's so saddening and tiring every time that this happens. The real shitty thing, and this is like a timing thing, is 2 or 3 weeks ago, cable news was nonstop covering like a small handful of people in just about every state brandishing assault rifles and masks, like at the Capitol buildings, going open up the. I want to get my Starbucks. I want to get my what things do white people like? I need my Dunkin' Donuts or something. Monopoly's back at McDonald's. The Shamrock Shake is back. I want the Shamrock Shake. And police are just like police just go, oh, well, right this way, sir. Please come into the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, and effectively shut it down. And the protests that happened yesterday, where people were demanding some kind of justice, like can the police who murdered a guy in broad daylight get fired for murder, please? Police just opened fire with tear gas on what is apparently peaceful protests. So real crazy contrast when you think about who in this country can get away with protesting and who can't, and over what. I just hope people some people will never learn this lesson, but I hope like maybe this was like finally the straw that taught people that the police in general, it's a racist institution specifically designed to inflict harm and violent suppression on minorities. And I mean, the evidence is, keeps mounting up every few months with like another video of someone who, didn't have to die being killed by a cop. So, yeah. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think when I was in Portland, I forget what thing I went to, but it was some minority, I want to call it like a rally. It was more just like what we should do to get more recognition. And someone brought up that like gangs were kind of created so that minorities could have protection from police. And I'm like, never really thought of it that way. And then when I keep seeing stuff like this happen, or even like Rodney King all the back in the day, and if we had smartphones from like back then, like I bet you'd see a lot of these videos still come up. So it just kind of makes sense. But like your analogy of the two protests is like so spot on, because it's just like these guys could literally, like these white males could bring like assault rifles and nothing happens to you, and then like these peaceful protests are happening in Minneapolis and you're just throwing tear gas at them. It's just awful.
Yeah, and it's not just exclusive to Minneapolis. You just mentioned Portland. Before quarantine broke out, in the period between like I want to say 2017 and mid 2019, it seemed like every 6 months, Patriot Prayer, this far right group, was just having rallies in Portland and daring Antifa people to attack them. But the police would always form a nice little cozy barricade around the Patriot Prayer guys and shoot tear gas and rubber bullets at Antifa. And it turns out some of these Patriot Prayer guys were former cops and friends of cops and would be texting the cops during these protests saying, hey, we're over here. Hey, can you help us out? So, just another example of who gets to protest and who gets chased off with tear gas. So,
yeah, that's awful. Speaking of Patriot Prayer, you know what is so goddamn annoying about that whole thing too? So like the guy that ran that, Joe Gibson, I don't think he's running it anymore. he's like not even from Portland. He's from Vancouver, Washington, and they would come over and just be like, we're like startling. There needs to be more conservative talk here. And it's just like, what are you doing? You don't even live here. You don't even live in this state, and you're doing this. It was so annoying.
Some of the later bigger protests too, they would just like bus in entire groups of people, like everyone would just see on Facebook. It's like, anyone across the country who wants to reenact Gangs of New York opening or whatever. So like your weird culture war team can win or whatever. Come over here.
Yeah. It's weird though, because it's like the Pacific Northwest is like not in the cities. It's almost like the South. Like you can almost see like Confederate flags, and like I didn't realize this until I read an article on like the Timbers that like Oregon did not allow black people to live there till like after the Civil War or something. I
did not know that.
It's like, that's why there's like no minorities here, because like it was illegal to do that. So I guess finish off on that tangent.
Yeah. Generally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just hope that some of these like protests actually lead to actual change. It'll probably won't happen, but at least one to hope.
Well, apparently the 4 police present have all been suspended. The 3 other police who were not directly murdering that guy, they got in trouble because apparently protesters and activists passed a law in 2016 that said police need to intervene if they see another police officer using unnecessary force. So those 3 other guys did not, so they're suspended too. So that's something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I just hope they get charged, and like even so, like getting charged is like a good thing, and then getting charged and then actually getting like prosecuted on that charge is just like another thing.
Yeah.
I just feel like it never works. So let's hope it does.
I mean, the last police officer to get charged for shooting an unarmed black guy that I can think about was that woman in Dallas, Texas somewhere, and then the only eyewitness was shot after that trial.
Wow.
So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is not good.
Not.
All right.
Yeah.
Hate to end the podcast on a somber note, but that's just kind of.
Oh, we can do a lighter politics note if you want, just to like pick things up.
Okay. Do you have one?
Yeah, Joe Biden was doing like another like interview or whatever, and like he loudly farted on video.
Nice.
Yeah. So conspiracy theorists are wondering if it wasn't in fact a shark because it sounded pretty wet.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a little fun one.
Yeah, so pretty cool that it's going to be him and like the other old guy who probably wears Depends allegedly coming up in the fall. But I thought that was a fun moment. And you know what? I mean, I hate him. I don't want him to win, but I'm hoping that we see at least like one vote for Trump video that features the Joe Biden fart video played. It's like, can you really trust a man to be president if he farts loudly during an interview?
I would love that ad. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't want Trump to win, obviously, but it's just like that ad would be great. All right, I'll have to look that up. That'll be some fun. Thank you, Connor, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I'm a repeat podcast guest now. Woo, this is crazy.
Yeah, dude, it's the norm. It'll be happening again. All right, please like, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to email any questions at snowsportspod@gmail.com. All right, have a good day.
Bye.